about 7 or 8.
Okay.
Give you about an hour and 20-something minutes. I tell y'all, your tongue's more tired for got a lot to talk about. What was the official count, Doc? About 25,000?
Yeah.
2416.
That wasn't bad at all. But that, I still think they can do 40,000 if they really work it.
Yep.
You gotta work year round.
You got to work. This is Dr. Phil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Welcome and thanks for joining us for the only weekly sports talk radio show that is dedicated to exploring the sporting HBCU diaspora with its unique HBCU culture identity, including the teams, the bands, coaches, athletic directors, classics, and homecoming events, as well as presidents and commissioners. And boy, it may be interesting to talk about the commissioners. As well as the sport management business practices in the competitive sports industry, we see as the show seeks to provide innovative, progressive, and informative dialogue about the week's HBCU sporting events, issues, and ideas from a fan's perspective. Better known as we look at the Southwestern Athletic Conference, better known as the SWAC, Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, better known as MEAC, of the NCAA Division I, as well as the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference, SIAC, the Central Intercollegiate Athletic Association, CIAA, of the NCAA Division II, Gulf Coast Athletic Conference, GCAC, of the NAIA, and independent programs such as Tennessee State of the OVC, soon to be Hampton of the Big South,
Yeah.
Langston, formerly or currently of the Central State Football League, as they move into the Southern Sooner Athletic Conference, as well as Edward Waters, as they made a move with their coach, as he resigned.
He did resign, yeah. Yes, sir.
Old legendary coach there,
Yeah.
Wyatt. So we'll see what's going to go on with Edward Waters as they move forward. Starting to get into some basketball play for both the men's and the women's. SWAC 0-5 against the MEAC. Is that any indicator of the Celebration Bowl? MEAC SWAC challenge? In terms of the Celebration Bowl, as we look at the MEAC and SWAC. A lot of news out there.
Yeah.
Chad Jones has already chimed in. He wants to say it loud and proud. Grambling, 31. North Carolina A&T, known to many as the Aggies, 17.
Wow, Chad.
He doesn't even think it's going to be close.
Wow. Okay.
We got Christopher Collins. Minister Collins has jumped in early. Appreciate you. Dwight Moore. Blake Green is on the line. Devontae Patton. Chad Jones, like I said, he jumps on. He's the first
one
in. Appreciate you, Chad. Appreciate you, Chad. I think he's excited about what he said was going to take place in the Celebration Bowl.
He called his shot.
He called his shot, which brings us to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Not right again.
You know,
We're going to pull you off the
Yeah.
hook this week because we're going to wait till next week before you get to. We're going to give you a chance to see if you can.
Yeah, I'll offer my formal apology to Graham fam a little later in the show.
They like, we told you. We told you.
Exactly.
But for me, it was pretty easy. I mean, they dominated the game until really Kincaid got a concussion in that game. And credit to the Braves, they didn't stop. They came back a little bit there. And at least made it not somewhat interesting, made it actually very interesting as they were trying to score a touchdown and then with the need to go for a 2-point conversion to tie the game up, which would have surely made things interesting. Brandon Boogie Benson is in the house, one of my former students, doing great things out there. Bishop can't get right. Chad is going in.
Chad was waiting on me today.
Yeah. As we do about this time, though, we're not going to get too far off of it, but certainly wanted to lighten the mood. We're going to have some serious discussions in here. We'll have plenty of time to talk. We will have the chance. We'll open the lines today. We won't have the coaches in as they're doing their thing. We'll try to bring them back in next week unless they call in regards to not realizing. So we will try to get them in terms of call in. So you're welcome to call in on the line. Thank you. It's 713-526-1230. 713-526-1230. This is a great opportunity because we have such a jam-packed show. We usually don't get a chance to really open up the line. So if you want to call in about HBCU sports, perfect time to weigh in. Again, it's 713-526-1230. We'll have our interns in the other room answer the phone, get your name. Please state your name and your school affiliation, and then we will quickly get you on the air. But with that, Charles, if you would give us the news of the day, and yeah, go to the news of the day. Whatever's hot, start from probably least hot to the most hot.
Yeah, I know.
And then we'll probably get into some discussion on those couple of items.
Sure thing. Well, we'll start off a little bit on a somber note. Cal Urban, who led North Carolina A&T to basketball prominence. He was North Carolina A&T's basketball coach from 1954 to 1971. He passed away. He won CIAA titles in 1958, 59, 1962, 64, and 1967. Cal Urban passed away. Doc, you'd like this. The North Carolina A&T, they were one of three other black colleges, including Tuskegee, Florida A&M, and Lincoln, that all became the first HBCUs to earn bids to the NCAA small college basketball tournament. Prior to that, of course, they played in the NAIA tournament. With Tennessee State winning in titles in 57, 58, and 59. Also, John Theory, former linebacker with Alcorn, he also passed away. John Theory, only 46 years old, of course, born here in Houston. He played on some great Alcorn teams in the early 90s. He was drafted by the Chicago Bears, and I think it's go back to his final year at Alcorn. He had 119 tackles, go with NCAA All-American second team. He was also All-SWAC first team. John Theory, of course, he was number 11 pick, first round 1994 NFL draft with Chicago Bears, where he played 131 games. So John Theory passed away.
Yeah, condolences to his family and all the Braves fans out there that had a chance, and SWAC fans for that matter, that had a chance to see him do his thing. Also those Chicago Bear fans and NFL fans that follow him and fell in love with who he was as an individual. So we certainly want to give a shout out to both those items that you talked about in the sermon news. Again, you're welcome to call in at 713-526-1230. You have some information that you want to get, talk about questions you have. But what else is out there?
Also, we start turning our attention a little bit toward the basketball court. Of course, this past week you had Grambling with the huge upset of Georgia Tech. You saw the highlights of that. Georgia Tech accidentally knocked the ball into Grambling's basket. Grambling was able to get that upset victory there at Georgia Tech. On the MEAC side of the ball, North Carolina A&T. Let's talk about North Carolina A&T basketball. They started off 5-1 on the season. They got their third non-conference Division I victory when they knocked off East Carolina on the road.
That's pretty good. And then they had a tough one getaway when a guy had hit his second shot, 3 to win 2 games. The one previous to that, and then the game against A&T. Prairie View's gotten 2 big wins out there on the season in terms of SWAC. So you got a couple of teams that are getting it done out there, getting some Division I wins, which is always an exciting thing. Any updates on the coaching search? I heard Jay Walker do his thing in terms of what's going on, according to him, ESPN. Did you hear some of his comments in terms of what?
Not today, I haven't. What?
Yeah, he went on the show, and he talked about possibly, or what he was hearing was Simmons to FAMU, Henry to Alabama State or A&M.
Okay, yeah. That follows the kind of what I've heard
out there, and so he put a couple of those things out there.
Oh, he put it out there. All right.
And Willie Chad Jones said yes. Willie Simmons to FAMU. Y'all know why y'all trying to rush Willie Simmons out there. Y'all just, especially Grambling. I mean, y'all seem like y'all have him.
Ooh, I don't know if Grambling should be smiling about coaching vacancies in coaching searches and whatnot. So,
Yeah, I did hear the news from Grambling. What's the word latest on where he's possibly going?
Coach Fobbs could.
He talking about MEAC. MEAC to Bama State is what they were saying. North Carolina Central coach.
Yeah.
That would make you sick
He's a
again.
very hot name. Very hot name.
Mhm.
Jerry Mack.
Jerry MEAC.
Yeah.
Well deserved. But Hill's in the mix at Alabama State. I don't think people have forgotten this that much. Chad says y'all can forget Fobbs isn't leaving. That's the same thing that Prairie View people are saying. So I don't know. Maybe Chad has a source. Maybe you have your source.
Well, you know, Chad, I tell you,
who's out there that the rumors are talking about that Fobbs people are interested.
University of Louisiana Lafayette one. University of South Alabama is another that I heard. So.
I would be interested in Chad says Trust Fobbs will be back. My question would be: is Fobbs back because he can't get another job? Or is Grambling committed to paying the money that will be offset of what ULL will offer him? To me, those are the bigger questions in regards to, why are you saying he will be back in terms of the trust? Is Grambling going to go into the coffers and financially make it where they can't? Because obviously it comes down to the numbers. You can say what you want in coaching. Certainly he has ties there. But at some point he has to make a financial decision. Right. We've seen that at the next level where you had a Florida State coach going to Texas A&M, and it got to the point where even if he preferred to stay at Florida State, when you're talking about $75 million in 10 years, you can't turn that money down.
Right.
He said money isn't the biggest factor for Fobbs. Yeah, I heard that before from a lot of coaches.
Before as well.
I heard that a lot of coaches.
Credit,
and I believe that in general, but my point is when you go from FCS to FBS, the money can be so big.
Precisely.
If you're talking about the difference between $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, I would agree with you. That's something that probably you could say, no, I'm comfortable where I am. I'll make that over the life of my contract. But if that contract starts to get in the $50,000, $75,000 or $100,000, you can say what you want.
Right.
That's not, somebody is not going to turn down $100,000 for a job unless, again, Grambling can match it. And I'm not saying that there's maybe loans out there certainly could decide.
Chad reaching his pocket.
That's what he says, stability. He gonna reach in his pocket. He got that kind of money.
Exactly.
But also, I think it'll be interesting. These coaching searches will start. It's my understanding, like you said, at Alabama State, they've already interviewed some coaches. Hill is the understanding that I understand Frazier came in to interview, and they were talking about an assistant coach at Troy that came in to interview for that job. So don't be surprised if they come around with an announcement pretty quick in terms of the direction they want to go.
Yeah, I'm hearing rumors about Hal Money coming to Jackson State as offensive coordinator as well.
What would your thoughts be on that? We got Raymond that's jumped in on the line.
He is an offensive guru, and Jackson State offense can't do anything to go up from where it was this past season. Upgrade might be a strong word, but they were at one point the worst offense in the FCS.
Yeah, that was without a doubt. Chad also jumps in here and says, keep your eyes on Steve Campbell. You heard anything about Steve?
Steve Campbell, University of Central Arkansas.
Where do you think he might be?
Well, he's
Arkansas Pine Bluff?
He's rumored to Arkansas Pine Bluff has been one.
What does he do at
head coach at Central Arkansas?
So he's going to Central Arkansas is the FCS
Central Arkansas
in the Southland FCS, Conference, so he'd make that move.
Salary,
which is what I was just going to say. So you talking about serious money. So it's interesting that SWAC is making that commitment to pay the money in regards to that. And the big K. He said he only makes he makes $169K at Central Arkansas. So it could make some difference.
You know the SWAC can match that and more.
Right, and the reason I say that, there was an interest from Willie Simmons in terms of becoming an offensive coordinator a couple of years ago at Southern Miss to follow his head coach there. And they put a nice price tag on the table, basically $30,000. And Prairie View matched it and then some and made extra years on the commitment. So part of the commitment was the financial commitment, him and the stability in terms of extension of years on the contract. And so maybe that's what Grambling is going to do, is just extend the contract and give him a 10-year contract, which is not out of vogue right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can do that. So those are some interesting thoughts. Any names you're hearing in the MEAC with Florida A&M? We talked a little bit about Simmons. Any other?
Well, that was a big name that I heard as far as with the MEAC and whatnot is Coach Simmons looking at Florida A&M, or Florida A&M, I should say, having interest in Coach Simmons.
Yeah, it's nice that you stuck it out there. You better be glad Mike is not has not made it to the studio.
Getting elbow in the reel right now.
Watch out there. What Delaware State? They're looking for both the head coach and the AD.
And
Any updates on that?
Nothing on Delaware State as of yet. So.
And then any other positions?
Virginia.
You have Virginia Union. Looking for a Division II level.
Yeah.
Obviously, nothing on the Valley. Had a chance to talk to the AD. Certainly, she's in the middle of search and she's doing the work that's necessary to get it done. Colleague of mine, Ingrid Haynes-Mays, is in. Raymond Holly has jumped in and said, I think the SWAC overall has the highest salaries of head coaches. Certainly would agree with that. He said if MEAC leaves North Carolina Central, or he may be saying MEAC is going to leave North Carolina Central. Either way, he's saying North Carolina A&T offensive coordinator would replace MEAC at North Carolina Central. Some people are saying that if A&T wins this game, that some people are putting out that Broadway may go out in the sunset and retire.
Well, that's the other thing that I heard in terms of Coach Broadway going out into the sunset. And I think his place is well earned.
Oh yeah, he is finding a way to put us up on that, and it's hard to get on the Mount Rush for HBCU, but he sure is working to try to put himself in there.
It'll be interesting the dominoes that fall because North Carolina Central's offensive coordinator, his name is T.C. Taylor. He's a
Jackson State guy. Yeah, it's good to see some HBCU individuals that cut their teeth, and he's done some great work at North Carolina, so his name should be in there. Got Jimmy Wilson in there. He talking about, some of these folks getting excited with some of these names we're putting out there. Assistant coach. So I think those are some names that you certainly want to keep out there in terms of what's going on.
Yeah, very interesting this past week, just talking about FAMU with their interest in Coach Simmons, just, talking about programs and the tradition of FAM and the upstart, kind of what you have going on at Prairie View. So I thought that was a fascinating discussion in some of these chat rooms and whatnot, talking about what is a better job, so to speak.
I think that's very interesting in terms of how people look at what is the better job. Many times the better job is looking at in terms of who can pay.
Exactly.
Then there's also the better jobs in terms of where they are in terms of recruiting places of where people think they can really get in some recruiting houses, and then other people believe that best places are places that have historic history in terms of the history of winning.
Right.
And then you also just have those programs where people are in a position where they are waiting to take the next step, wanting to make that commitment. So when you start to lining those out, this is what you see at every level or anything. What does that really mean? Who's out there? And then you just have some places where people throw stuff out where they think there's some natural fit, where somebody's going home, where somebody used to be a player, he's an alumnus of the school. So you see those type of things. So it's always interesting to see what is the case in these areas. People are chiming in about this FOBs. They said that ULL's too strapped financially for FOBs to get the job. They won't be able to pay the money. Now, this is a Southern. Michael Lee chiming in, talking about that's not going to happen because they don't have the money to do it. White Moore says, I really hope FOB stays at Grambling. He has a passion for restoring respect of Grambling, G in college football and the NFL, and he has been very deliberate in returning some key components of Coach Rao's program. So he is committed to the G. The question is, what are his long-range plans and how ULL fits those plans? And that's exactly what I'm saying. What does it mean to be committed? And Dwight Moore, I think you perfectly said it when you laid it out quite a bit there, but certainly wanted to read it because I thought it was substantive when you break it down.
Talk about Coach Files at Grambling. You talk about a perfect fit. I mean, somebody who really bleeds that black and gold with Grambling, former player, father on staff with him, and just those principles that Eddie Robinson has put in that program. He really lives it and things of that nature, and that is a perfect fit. As far as selfishly, I would love to keep Coach Five within the conference because of all that he's done at Grambling. I mean, it gives every other team something to shoot for.
Certainly, Jimmy Wilson chimes in. With the OC at Grambling, should get a look at head coach.
Yes, Eric Dooley. He is
Dooley is really
very
passionate. He's a very hot name. Wouldn't be surprised, and he should have some choices in terms of where you go, which is always a great position to be in. And a couple of names that I think is nice that we're going. It looks like you have the SWAC looking back inside its own family tree, trending more than it was the last couple of years where we were going outside. So I think that could be interesting. Nickel State, for example, head coach makes $90K. Chad Jones throwing after a great point by Chad. Today, we're not scheduled to have our interviews as we traditionally do with our head coaches from this area, which would be Willie Simmons, Coach Willie Simmons of Prairie View A&M University, or Texas Southern University's head coach Mike Haywood. So we're going to go in a little more of the discussion, so you're welcome to post on Facebook Live, and we certainly will give your name and read out your information or your question. You can also call in if you want to get on the line at 713-526-1230. We're going to get into some meat of the conversation, difficult conversation. Obviously, a lot's out there in rumor, and no, we haven't talked about it yet, but we will get into some of the news of the day of the SWAC commissioner, as that is pretty hot and heavy. Before we do that, I'd be remiss if I didn't get a chance to say a great thank you for those that came and participated and supported Ben L. Cowbell Senior HBCU Football Award this past Wednesday. We had it as purposely a part of the mix with the SWAC championship game. Week activities were going on. I had the support coming in at late events to five SWAC athletic directors, including Dr. Charles McCullen and Ashley Robinson, VP of Intercollegiate Athletics. I actually had SWAC Assistant Commissioner Edgar Gant. We had two SWAC Assistant Athletic Directors from Southern that were in there. And Charles was talking about this first time he could remember in a long time where he actually had a place where 5+ ADs of SWAC together. So kudos for them to supporting what we're doing. A lot of great talk, a lot of things going on in that, but the fact that they supported something that is supported for their athletes. For those that may have not followed this and not aware of it, the Ben L. Cowbell Senior HBCU Football Award is given to a player that has a connection to the state of Texas and the HBCU. It is named after Ben L. Cowbell Senior as he played at Wiley College in 1925, and all my historian buffs out there, members of the HBCU Sports, particularly SWAC fans, are very aware that the SWAC started in 1920. So as we are looking at potentially a change, and a lot of people believe that it's significant if there's any way that the SWAC is going to last another 100 years, as it's coming up on its 100-year anniversary in 2020. We don't really realize that that is literally just 3 years away, and if we count down to the first of the year, we're talking about really 2 when you're talking about 18 to 20. So when we think about that, it's significant, and just wanted to make sure I played that homage. His grandson, Ben Anthony Cowbell, I should say, out there with his support. There's a running joke. You have to come to the event to get a little insight about the Cowbell or Cowbell pronunciation, why it's different. We have a good time at the event talking about that. This year, I was interrupted before I could really get into my spin and give everybody, but Ben caught me off guard. He did a great job in terms of doing that. But we had 6 finalists for the award. Very good in terms of those finalists, as they did a great job. The winner was now a 2-time winner, as we had Devontae Kincaid, the quarterback of Grambling. He graciously took the trophy. As we were able, he was not able to be down at the event Wednesday. He was practicing and should be preparing for a big game on Saturday. But we were able to catch up with him, go to the hotel, and present him the trophy. Have a video for you that you can go check out the video of him accepting awards. I was really excited about what he was able to do there. Let me give you some information on where you can go check out the video. You can go to the college sports report. And you can also look at a finalist, which is the kicker, Mark Orozco. The kicker was a finalist for the 2017 Big Bend Cowbell. They were both gracious, and Kincaid obviously setting the winner and the finals in Orozco. You also had Sean Jones of Texas Southern University, who was up for the second time, as he's just a junior. Don't be surprised if he's in the mix and finds a way to take it home next year. He was able to make the finalists with what he was doing, and he did a lot of that with injuries. Then we had 3 guys from Prairie View. Nico Hollins, the quarterback for Prairie View, a redshirt freshman, of what he was able to do the 3 last weeks. He was able to get his name in the mix. He was added late to the list as the 6th finalist based on what he did the last 3 weeks, including a victory over his rival on the road, throwing over 300 yards the last 3 games. Don't want to hold you up and give you a chance to give the other 2 finalists in the mix there. Did you want to give them
you had mentioned Nico Hollins, and you also had Cadero Hodge.
Wide receiver there, did great things, breaking a record.
Right, the other gentleman from Prairie View, name is escaping me right over.
The linebacker.
I'm sorry.
He's from Mississippi, D-Lo, Mississippi there.
Cadero is from D-Lo, Mississippi. But tremendous night in terms of the award banquet. And you mentioned it, ADs there from Texas Southern, Prairie View, Grambling, and Alcorn both were there. Coach Willie Simmons, his players, just tremendous honor to be a part of that awards banquet, and looking forward to it continuing to grow. I think it has been tremendous in that you have an award that honors students who are from the state of Texas, who have roots here in Texas, who play here in Texas, and are doing great things in the HBCU athletic realm, and just looking forward to it going from there. Just a tremendous night. Had a lot of fun. Listen to the Cowbell story again. That to me just tickles me every year. But you mentioned a player like
that doesn't get old, does it?
Right, never. Devontae Kincaid being a 2-time
Anthony
winner.
Stubbs.
Anthony Stubbs.
Don't want to make sure we leave him out. Linebacker junior there from Midville, New Jersey.
Right.
Was escaping us for a minute there, but I want to make sure we give him shape out there.
And
Go ahead.
You had Mark Orozco, and just wanted to mention this past game, Mark Orozco kicked his career-long 48-yard field goal. So,
and ultimately was big in terms
ultimately was big. I mean, when we talk about that game, there are a couple of things that.
And I think that's going to be big in the Celebration Bowl. Some things to look at it. And he's been consistent over the year to be able to kick those big kicks over 40-plus yards. It'll be interesting if he'll get a shot, at least to go into some camps.
Right.
We've seen a couple of kickers from the SWAC over the last couple of years that at least got a chance to go into camps. It'll be interesting if he'll find a way to stick. And he's been really solid, Texas kid, Hispanic kid, and getting a chance to come to HBCUs, and he says he's humble in a lot of ways about that. Really was unfortunate I wasn't able to get him the information early, maybe to bring his family to celebrate, but we'll look at improving as we move forward. And so those are some things that you want to look at in terms of moving forward in terms of that. Then we actually add on the HBCU ARC Research Consortium Conference, which is that Thursday and Friday, and we had professors literally from all over the country came in, some great presentations. We had the sports negotiation where our Texas Southern students come in and get involved. The winner of that competition takes home big-time check, so there's money on the line for that, and so we plan to grow that and look at that. A lot of people are interested in that, and it seemed with the news, obviously, at the beginning that the SWAC championship game would be canceled or no more. This final judgment, as they did the marketing for this, is that we're talking about looking at moving the HBCU ARC conference in Big Bend to a different date. So stay tuned as we'll get you that information as we tie that down moving forward. So those are some things we can get more people involved to come out. So celebrate that type of event. Obviously, news is out there. I'll put it out there that you may be trickling out that it's my understanding that the coaches asked for the SWAC championship game to come back, and they asked for the fact that if we couldn't do it in Houston financially, that they wanted the true. And they made a pretty good argument and said it's too important with the winner being able to go to the Celebration Bowl when the ultimate part of the tiebreaker could be the fact that it would go down basically to a coin flip. So they made that argument. It was successful. They moved it to the ADs. The ADs got on board, and they really pushed to support their coaches. I think this is a good job of looking at the conference working in a way where you listen to the coaches and move from the coaches on to the ADs. ADs got involved and really pushed it, presented to the presidents. My understanding is the presidents made a decision that the SWAC championship game will remain, at least for next year, in regards possibly maybe circling back, looking at it again to see if we can get it one destination. But for next year, you'll see news coming out in short order that the SWAC championship game will remain, with the fact that it will go to the regular season champs' home site.
Okay.
So that kind of flushed out, and people were talking about it a little bit. But that's the latest news that coming out of the SWAC Media Week, unless some things drastically change. I can give you some updates on things of that nature.
So you're saying we still have a SWAC championship game?
Yes, we just have a SWAC championship game. I think it's a big deal in terms of what's going on. Let me go back before we get you into some other news, get into some discussion. It's hot and heavy on here, so I want to make sure, as I told people that we would. Again, they can call in 713-526-1230. We had Chad, average starting salary of FCS head coaches is $90 to $125. He said, keep your eyes open on FOBs. Interesting. I'm not sure what he means there. Chad, what about Dooley? Jimmy is asking. Said, excuse the spelling if it's right off there. He said, Chad said, you're right. Very hot is what you said, Charles, there. He was FCS assistant coach year in 2016. Mark James is watching, getting in there. That's another hot name that people need to look at in terms of the coaching search. Head coach of Virginia Union, let go there. Not everything was truly in his hands there. Behind the scenes, he's done some great work in terms of revitalizing that program. Does a lot of work in terms of revitalizing programs. That's a person I would say that people like Arkansas Pine Bluff, Mississippi Valley, that don't necessarily have the financial commitment, unless what we're hearing, Pine Bluff is turning the corner and going to make that. Those are some programs I would think that should take a serious look at Mark James, because he understands how to work with not throughout the resource. Not that he doesn't want to, I'm sure.
Right.
I want to make sure that's clear, that he's not saying that he's going to do it for nothing. But those are some places you need to think about. He said at Jimmy, he might be at PV.
I tell you.
They chasing people out of here, boy. Stan Hardy is watching. He's on the line. Michael Lee, no, they won't do it unless they are strapped for cash. They have candidates like Doug Newsmer, I believe that is, Mike Canada, and Jim McElwain. And so that's the old breed. They're scared to stick out of folks, and that wouldn't surprise me in terms of that. Jimmy gave the tongue in terms of the face in regards to Chad when he started trying to chase Willie Simmons out of Prairie View. Roger Gibson is watching. Thank you for jumping on here, Rob. Good to see you, keeping us protected out there. Appreciate the work you're doing. I have my eyes on PV. Chad said, we see a little too much, man. Get out the view, baby.
Oh, wow.
Dwight Moore is talking about maybe Dooley will get a call from UAPB. Is Texas Southern head coach open? No, it's not open. I can tell you that. There were some changes from the offensive coordinator. Some other coaches made some changes, which makes sense in terms of not moving the forward probably as fast as they want. But I know he's also on the recruiting trail trying to get those JUCOs in here, because he wants the team to be mature, a lot stronger, a lot faster as he gets and wants to get in the mix more in terms on the winning side. Langston English is watching. I see you, Langston, out there. He's having a lot of pride with the Aggies. He can't wait to get Atlanta as he closes up his semester out there. That's Dr. Langston English getting it done out there as he is at UTSA, a professor there, doing a lot of work. Texas Southern isn't making any changes for 3 years. I don't know if it's that long, but you're right. They certainly are committed to Haywood. I need Loving Kincaid since he started being the starting quarterback in high school at Skyline High School in Dallas, Texas. He has always been a game changer. Dwight Moore, yes, he took that team to heights, and I would have said that they should have played for a championship down there, as they let one get away in high school and come back for the ages that frustrated a lot of fans that are fans of inner city football and used to seeing it. Byron Price, you need to give me a call when you get a chance later this evening. Tried to contact you, but the numbers changed. Charles Sloan is out there giving it up. Marcus Lane is supporting. Carlos Brown, I see you, Carlos. Kimberly Wilcox, Washington, my sister there. Kerry Mickens. Michael Lee, it should be a top seed team home stadium. great news, great ideas. People are doing that. He said, all right, what about the SWAC commissioner? I guess we talked enough. We can change the news to that.
Hey, I was going to talk just a little bit about the SWAC championship. A couple things.
Yeah, let's get into the SWAC championship game before. Let's tease it out a little bit. I like that. Good job. You learned it real quick. So, guys, stick with us. We're going to tease it out a little more in terms of that. Let me finish up a little more with people talking about the SWAC championship game before we get into some of the hot news in terms of what's going on, SWAC commissioner. Some news that I put out there, some daily reports out there. We'll go with the daily reports because I don't want to get my sources in trouble in that nature, so I'll hold off on what I know to the appropriate time. We'll have to do that on the back channel.
Yes, indeed.
Hopefully we can get activity because I put it out there and people like, it's COVID, then they feel like it was real. I said, hey, when it comes for Dr. COVID, there's one thing I'll tell you right now. You better believe it. Hopefully we can get it active and agree to wise locations indoor for the SWAC football championship game, going to home opens of all sorts of negative challenges that should not be introduced into the biggest game of the year for the conference. I believe Dwight Moore is talking about weather, maybe some officials, size of the stadium. I think those are some issues.
Yeah.
But Dwight, I think from what I can tell, the conversation I have with the leadership team, the ultimate goal is to get it back to a location, one location, and I'm not going to say it's necessary to close location or back to Houston, any of that, but they do want it to get it back to a bigger city, major location where the game just hosts there. But the conference is financially in a position where it literally cannot afford to do that, so this is the best option looking at all the things that are going on. There are some major financial concerns with the SWAC that the presidents are doing a heck of a job, in my opinion, of making sure that this conference stays afloat because of these challenges. So if this transition comes from the SWAC commissioner office, if that new person comes in, their major challenge in a lot of ways is going to be financially the stability of the conference, and they need to do that in the ways that they make sure that they keep the schools in the conference. I'll be frank, there's some schools that are seriously frustrated with the SWAC to the point where you have presidents, some ADs that are looking and moving. So it is that desperate. And somebody that you know that put this show together for HBCU institutions and conferences feel very concerned with the information I'm hearing and just how serious it is. So as SWAC fans, we need to make sure we're doing our side of support. And I say support financially. I don't want to get into all this other stuff, but we have to do our part financially to do what's necessary, supporting our school. Ken Rashad always talks about that quite a bit. He's jumped on the line to talk about that. So we have made fellas in here, Carlos Brown, Kerry, I should say. You can have the SWAC championship game at PV, yes, but you're not going to get all the coaches voting to have it on campus, one location. That's not going to work. Also, you have some size constraints, 15,000 in terms of you do it as the host team. Boy, you're talking about a major game where the ticking prices could really be intriguing, where if you want that ticket, there's only 15,000 that can go or whatever. I guess they maybe could sell some standing room. It'll be interesting. Or maybe Kerry is talking about the fact that he's giving preeminence that he believes next year Prairie View will win in the regular season and therefore will host.
Wow.
We can't tell by what's up here. Rank your top 3 football teams in the SWAC. Let's do it. I have a poll ranking that will come out, so we'll talk a little bit about top 3 teams. So we'll do that as a tease as we get into some other news here. Carlos wants to know that. And we'll even talk about maybe next year who the top 3 teams is, to get a little ahead of the curve. So thanks for that, Carlos. Get to the one location and make some money. I agree with you, Jimmy, but you got to understand, financially, we're just not there yet. Please not Birmingham that weather in December. Yeah, it's tough.
That is
I think that's some of the issues you're talking about. Because if you go in to play Alabama A&M gets to the point, boy, you talking about hosting a game in North Alabama in December, boy, it could be truly cold.
Interesting.
Keep trying to tell people that schools are vying to leave. Yeah, that's true, Chad. I can verify that I know for a fact there's at least 4 schools, and I would say up to 5 or 6 that have seriously looked at other options. And in a lot of ways, they have no choice if we can't fix this. But I think we're going to get somebody good. I can't get into names at this point, but from what I'm hearing from those involved, they're doing their due diligence, and they are doing everything to make sure the SWAC moves forward with it. They need to put up the money and get a proven commissioner with a track record. I agree with you, Michael Lee. You've been saying that for many years, and this is certainly the time to do it. Kerry said, I'm right. 2018 is PV year, so he's talking about moving forward. He's ready for the championship. Jimmy says, I do understand, Dr. Lil. Thank you for chiming in. And I know you do your research, Jimmy, so you are on that. So now it's time, before we get into some major discussion, we also had the fact that we're going to look in. Gary Cooper is jumping in. He's listening. He's on KCOH TV as we have folks that chiming in as well in regards to everything that's going on in those facets. But let's go into this game. I know it's over, but we need to do some revision and go back in there. Ken Rashad said he's not scared. He'll put his name in it. SWAC Commissioner Ken Rashad has a nice ring to it. That's right, Ken. Go ahead.
I like that, Ken.
I mean, who's to better say somebody that's an entrepreneur that started his own business that is flourishing to the point where he can literally walk away from a job. In a lot of ways, it was a career because he was doing well at that job. So if you can make a living for yourself and a family, that says something about your management style at the very least. And he's very innovative, and he's also open to a lot of things. So there's some people that probably would support Ken, but Ken, you know that this is going to be very political. So I hope you didn't piss off a lot of people, and you can find a way to get back in there. But maybe the people that you pissed off are leaving, so that wouldn't matter anyway.
How about that, Ken?
Are there any SWAC commissioner candidates on the air today? You talk about me? No, I can tell you that I'm honored about that. I was given the opportunity to speak to that on Saturday on another network when talked about that. I did leave some principles, and I will repeat those principles. When you're talking about a SWAC commissioner, you need somebody that has vision, that is able to do strategic planning out there, that is prepared to take this conference to the next level. I would say, besides the financial balance, and this is going to make some people challenging. They don't want to hear this. There's a lot of people that probably want to see the SWAC in a central location. I think that's fine in terms of the rationale that you're using for wanting to see the SWAC in a central location like Jackson, Mississippi, or New Orleans, Louisiana, in terms of those. And you're right, from a historical perspective, in terms of the location, they would be good locations. But what the SWAC needs is financial stability. If you're talking about financial stability, you need to go to a place where there's Fortune 500 companies, where there's a lot of SWAC fans that can support the SWAC and allow the commissioner to go into some of these Fortune 5 companies and say, look, you need to join the SWAC in terms of supporting this. You have a lot of alums that are in your organization, and you're making money off these alums. Give us back, and we'll make sure that it'll pay dividends to you with further support. So that's why, and I know a lot of people think I'm biased because I'm in Houston. Yes, in a lot of ways, I will admit to that. But my point is from a financial perspective of the corporations here, those type of relationships that you would have, I believe Houston would be a significant location. Let me throw out two other locations that I think are challenges but do fit that parameter, which would be Dallas. It doesn't have the institutions, but you've seen cases where, like in Birmingham, where they are host to the SEC, and a lot of that historic, where they're not in a location where the school is. So Dallas. I would say my second idea is going to explain to why I said another location is to look at is Atlanta. The SWAC must expand. I'll say that again. The SWAC must expand. I know there's people out here who will talk about different schools. Look at those. There's some strategic ways that you need to look at expansion from a financial standpoint. I know history says a lot. We've thrown out Tennessee State for the years in FAMU. Obviously, they're ready-made in a lot of ways in terms of history. Yes, they do give you prominent states that you may consider. But when I'm talking about a major markets with television and major markets with Fortune 500 companies, you need to expand. Obviously, Dallas would be one, but there's not a school in terms of Paul Quinn that fits that narrative with the scope of where they are. So the next best location would be Atlanta. Get it and spread out the market. If you look at schools like SEC, Big 12, ACC, Big 10, when they expand their borders to move to major markets. That's the same thing of where business is going today. You need to expand, have the football championship in Houston, have the basketball tournament in Atlanta, make it where people want to travel and things like that, and then bring in some of the prominent sports to locations like New Orleans in terms of baseball. Find a way to make it a moneymaker, bring it to Baton Rouge Southern, where they've hosted some games, and then switch it around, do some major reorg in terms of what has to go. So if you're going to do it, you need to understand those are some things that you need to look at from a commissioner perspective. But I will throw out some names that I believe that people need to consider. These are not people that are pushing for the job. These are not candidates for the job, as you may imagine. These are people that I've studied their background and have done some things. Ashley Robinson's one is what he did in terms of relationships he had in this greater area. Prairie View in terms of what he did with building that stadium. Some people would say he may be too young, and I certainly think that is a concern that you would have to look at if you're looking at Ashley Robinson. Obviously, Dr. Charles McCullen, the years of experience he had, his ability to stay the course, the history he has, the love he has for the conference, but his networking experience of what he has in Houston because of what he's done in a year, he can go up to a lot of people and fix some of the relationships that are broken.
Yeah.
The other problem that you have if you return to Birmingham is my understanding some of those relationships that are in Birmingham have been so broken about what has taken place there that it may be challenging to go back in that market, and it will take 2 or 3 years just to rebuild those relationships, and I don't think the SWAC has 2 or 3 years to do that. So these are things that I've personally done and researched to look at that you need to consider when you're talking about. So I'll just throw that out there in terms of some of the names that you need to look at.
In terms of that networking experience,
you can go and get the MEAC commissioner, Dr. Thomas.
Dr. Thomas.
If you take him and get him out the way in terms of those kind of things. So those are some things that you might want to think about in terms of those. Lynn Thompson at Bethune-Cookman, with the budget he's able to do, relationship he has, and how he can go in. That's a quiet name that you need to look at. And when I say this, I'm to the point where if you're a person and you're an AD or you're president and looking for people to take positions, you don't wait for them to come to you and look. You do your work, see what the fit is, and you go seek them. Right. You go find them, and you tell them you make an offer. We seen this again. We kind of look at it, and I don't want to get too spoiled with the FBS because people say to some degree it's not fit. I do understand that in terms of that, but one thing that they do and they do well is when they see something they want it, they go get it. They make it committed. And that's where we have to get out of the mindset that everybody has to come to us and vet. We need to go find who we want to cure our ills and make sure they fit. And then we got to go get them and make an offer they can't refuse. And then let them do the work to get us where we need to be. Go ahead. You were about to ask a question.
Well, I think you had mentioned, Dr. McCullough, the networking skills here within Houston in terms of what are some of the things, because people have asked that question, like what are the resume things that are on Dr. McCullough's?
First of all, to be frank, as we get into this letter about the NCAA that I'm not sure everybody is worried about, the concern, he has relationships with people at the NCAA. And that's one thing you're going to need for the SWAC to get out some of the trouble that I'm hearing that's been reported in regards to the issue they have with NCAA. That's no laughing matter. The NCAA we know is powerful, and many of us, like myself, have some major problems with the NCAA in terms of many things to do. But one thing we know about NCAA, they don't have a problem with making people go away.
Right.
And that can be the same thing as making a conference go away.
Sure.
Yeah, they'll get some real pushback from it, but if they can show a reason to do it, don't think that they won't let it happen. So that's one reason. If you're talking about resume builders that he has to put out there is the relationship with some NCAA officials and some of the relationships he has with powerful commissioners throughout the country that would leverage him from the respect they would have for him and would work with him and open up some of their key assets. I'm talking about commissioners of not just I'll put it out there. Commissioners of Power 5 conference that have the trust they have in him.
Sure.
And so Lynn has some of that, to be honest. Ashley has some of that. But I know for a fact that really goes a long way. And again, it's connected, and you can think about it, it's connected with relationships with people he had in Houston that may have went maybe I'm saying too much there. But also in the city in terms of the mayor, relationship he has with the mayor. Harris County Sports Authority, he's worked with that for years, from Prairie View days back to Houston. So he's developed those relationships, folks that respect him. They will make things work. This is the key thing when we get into the business sport that we got to understand. We got to get to the point where you have people that have relationships where people want to see them be successful.
That's so.
So if you get a commissioner that people want to see successful, think about what they're gonna do for the conference.
Right.
Because they don't want that person to fail.
Right. Exactly.
I'm part of that success. The reason I'm successful is, I'd say a lot of people that tune in this show, they have a respect level for me that they tune in, whether what are they doing, and a lot of that is, they like to believe that we're providing something, but they don't want to see me fail. They see all the work that I put in there, and they support me for that. That means something. You go places when you do things like that. So these are items that you need to. Obviously, you need the resume builder that you've been in the AD, you've been in the SWAC. You need those things. But there's a lot of people that have those type of generic things. So I won't even get into bore people. People know all that you need to know the rules and stuff like that. But I'm talking about above the rules. We got to get past having people that are just operations. They can just operate the conference. And that's from ADs, the commissioners. We need strategic thinkers. We need tactical individuals that are going to push our institutions to the next level. So I'll get off my soapbox a little bit there. But you asked the question, so I'm going to get in there. Any further thoughts or questions you had there? Let's go back a little bit. So Dwight Moore, hopefully I answered your question there, that I humbly do that. Now, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't do some consulting work for the.
I was about to say, and humbly,
I sure would. Now, let me tell you this: some of you people of color have a problem with dealing with black institutions, or black individuals, or black businesses. I'll say this very frank: I pay homage to black institutions, black business. I spend my money with black institutions, and I get paid for black institutions. I have a African American doctor, because I don't even say black. I just say this too, but I have an African American doctor. African American dentist. Both of them went to HBCU. I have an African American tax individual. He went to HBCU. So it's in my blood. People that look at my financial resources, African Americans, and they went to HBCUs, and I'm doing really well. And these people that are competent. So I believe in these institutions. So what I'm getting to is the fact that some of y'all like people do stuff for free. I don't work for free. I know my worth now. I put in the year's work. So if you come to me with some help, we can do that. But you better bring out that checkbook. Todd Jackson's on the line.
There it is.
Ken Rashad, he say joking. We know you're joking, but we just wanted to rib you back. We got you. You didn't even realize. Michael Prince putting you out to move the SWAC championship game to Shreveport, Louisiana, a central location for everybody involved. That's not going to make people come, Prince. You all are looking at SWAC and the wrong numbers. The attendance is one thing. It could increase, and that's a big thing. But that's not where your money is. We got to get out of the mode. I teach this for a living, so this is not to disrespect anybody. But if I had a student that put that on the test, he'd get a big F. Attendance is relative from this, but where you make your money is television, relationship for sponsors, and you do that through relationships, and they want to know your spending power. Of those involved with your conference.
That's a very interesting point.
So that's a different dialogue than just counting heads. We have been one of the major attendance conferences over the last couple of years. It hasn't translated to major money because we don't know how to turn attendance into revenue. So, I apologize, but we need to take this to the next level. We can't play with this. I'm tired of playing with this and being quiet and just letting things roll. We need folks that are gonna do the research and understand what's going on. You don't do that. Be careful with that. Shreveport, and you got some folks that want to gamble. No, that ain't gonna make it work. We need folks that's gonna develop money in there. Now, if Shreveport is committed to putting a couple of $100,000 in SWAC, have corporations that are gonna do that. All right, let's go.
That's a different story.
Let's go. But until that, you talking about attendance number? No, that ain't gonna work for me. Kerry said, "Too late, Ken. It's out there." Yeah, we put it out there for the world to see. Tabby, Lawrence McCall, Tabathon. He does the introduction music here. He's a motivational speaker, so you need to check him out. Bring 2 more teams, preferably traditionally. I call them historically white colleges. I don't use predominantly because they're on the same level. So that's a different word that he said, proverbially, traditionally, historically white colleges. I'll tell you now, you're going to have trouble bringing historically white colleges to SWAC because you all do not want to understand what's going out to the racial landscape we're living in. These folks don't believe in it. You can join them, but they're not coming in here unless you don't need them. The only ones you're going to get are ones that don't have value. Now, Hey, you call it what it is. I'm just telling you the truth. It's
Putting
not
it out
coming.
there. Putting it
It's
out
going to be back in New Orleans. Book it. All right. We'll put it on the paper and see if you got it right. I'll remind you when you don't have it right. Doc is right about expanding. Thank you. We need to go in there. We need to go to Atlanta. Go in and get that market. Look at Clark Atlanta. Get it done. Spread this conference out and go to these schools and show them why they need to come to your conference. Ken said Dallas would be the perfect fit. Southland. Look at the Southland. There are no SL schools in Dallas, but there are tons of Fortune 500 companies. I agree with you. I put that out there. I got no issues with Atlanta. King Tab in the house. Yes, King Tab there. The championship game is held in Frisco. That's where the Southland Conference is headquartered. I agree. But there's one thing that you have to be careful now. If you're going in a place that already has a market sold up, that means you are competing for the same dollars because you're competing against another FCS school. So while Dallas and Frisco make a lot of sense, a lot of Dallas institutions are already committed to the Southland Conference in the FCS championship game. So be mindful that you're going to have to build a better package because you're competing head-to-head with them. Definitely Charles could be an excellent. Dwight Moore put out there. Doc, keep PV out this. No Charles, no Thomas. I understand. I read the letter and it's hot. What kind of trouble? I need examples. We'll give you that, Chad. It's coming. Big South Conference might be getting bigger. I don't know who's going to go to the Big South Conference. Now, that would be a mistake. I just did an analysis on Hampton going to the Big South. Y'all need to quit looking at these things blindly. I told you, go do your research and you know. There is nothing about the Big South that is competitive to the MEAC or SWAC for that matter. Nothing. They slightly have a higher RPI, but that's not going to make a major difference in terms of recruiting enough players to change. You may have an argument in basketball, but these are both one-bid leagues. If you're talking about going to the CIAA, Colonial Athletic Association, maybe another thing. Multiple bids in basketball, multiple bids in football. I get it. Southland, at least they have multiple bids in football, multiple bids in baseball. But you better be ready to commit financially if you think you're going to compete in it. But the Big South was 1 year away from falling apart. They needed Hampton more than Hampton needed them, and didn't even realize it and jumped over that.
Say that again.
Hampton been trying to get in the Big South for 10 years, and they wouldn't take them. But y'all just want to go to these institutions. But keep it up. You're going to lose everything you had, and you're going to be forgotten because you don't understand. Tennessee State has experimented this for 40 years. They have 2 championships in football over 40 years.
Only 2?
2 championships in basketball over 40 years, and you talking about they competing because they beat a couple of HBCU, got a couple more players.
People don't want to hear that.
Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
You don't even have 2 or 3. They only finished 2 or 3 second and third 3 or 4 years. You can't even put it on 2 hands. You can't count their championships or second and third place finishes, but you want to run to these conferences. Y'all need to wake up. Y'all are sick. We got some sick people out there.
They're very sick now.
You don't even believe in your own stuff. I'm tired of that, man. No.
Well, put it out there, dog. I
That's
appreciate
crazy.
that. People should appreciate the truth
Frederick
in what
Williams,
you're
my
saying.
barber's on here. Appreciate you for doing what you do to my hair because I need to look nice. Tony the Thinker Young is on here. They going back and forth. Chad and Jimmy talking about be quiet, stop PV. They hold it. Stan Hardy, good information, Dr. Cowbell. Thank you. Trying to bring it. William Broussard for the SWAC Commission. Oh, he went there. William Broussard, he's sharp. He certainly knows his information. Hopefully he didn't burn any bridges. Because you got to also remember that this is going to be a political decision too. So you need to have 7 votes from the SWAC presidents of the team. And so you need somebody that can get them votes. So also keep in mind when you're thinking about that plays a role as well. Keep telling people AD's job isn't administrative anymore. And you're exactly right, Chad. We agree on that. So what else we have? Wendell Webster is on here. Arnett Cowbell is on here. They starting to put links on here. Carrie Brown, a doctoral student of mine. She might be getting some information soon. Good news. We'll see. Johnny Neal. Michael Lee says Shreveport is a sports event graveyard in the slowest growing city in Louisiana. Now, this is somebody from Louisiana telling you this. Now, that's real. Michael Lee finds a way to just tell you stuff that might make you run the other way.
Quite real.
Alexander is on here. Michael Prince. It's talking about there's no need to apologize. It's the fact that the commission is going to have to learn how to tap into resources that he already has to establish that marketability for the corporation. That is true. You're on it there, Mike Prince. You do that. You start your own business. You understand what it means to build relationships. We'll be in Baton Rouge next year. I think this is somebody, Southern fans, that says that he believes the Jaguars will play for the championship. I see you. How's it going? John Robinson? Yeah, just doing the show, John. I'm doing well. Chester Capitals over Ken Rashad, but it's for a different demographic. That's right, Doc. Thank you. Somebody said I'm preaching. Got Bertrand Simmons. It's a colleague of mine. He always has done a lot of work and helped me and supported me, so I really appreciate, Bert, the things you do and support the way that you support your institution. A lot of us could learn from what you're able to do about that, and it's brought you a lot of wealth, I believe, because of the way that you support. I know that, Doc, but some might believe the water is colder. Yeah, some of them do. That's why I went over. Siobhan Turner's in here watching. Thank you, Siobhan. The Big South is holding on by a thread after. Yep, thank you. Somebody else did a little research. One other thing that I want to talk about the Big South before I finish that is the fact that academically they don't even compare our institutions. Mm-hmm. Somebody's putting out the Hampton and Grambling and talking about how the pedigree. Now, Hampton, don't get me wrong, they've done a lot of great work and they got bigger. But if you go by Carnegie classification, Grambling State has a higher ranking in the Carnegie classification as a master level medium program, while Hampton is master level low.
Wow.
The Big South has 2 doctoral programs. The MEAC has 4 programs. 3 medium and 1 high extensive at Howard University. The SWAC has 3. Both of them have more than the Big South, but y'all running over there because y'all, man, get out of here. It's the same way with Tennessee State. Tennessee has the highest Carnegie classification in OVC. The only doctoral program since the last time I checked was Tennessee State. They don't even fit academically over there, but you can't tell nobody. You right. I'm a Hampton president is not well informed. He's stubborn. Well, I mean, he brought up half the Hampton, so money will get you different stuff. Tennessee State is the black Notre Dame. He crying over here. I think that was supposed to be a joke by Lee. He got the laughing tears. Michael E. Williams, Broussard don't want it. Horses mouth. What did they say? He just talking a good game. As you went in the West, boy, these folks are on him. Alcorn will be back. Broussard is happy where he is. He say leave alone. Somebody out there make sure you don't chase his people away. Wow. We hear that every year from SU. They going in there. So you wanted to break down the SWAC championship game as we get in this a little more, as comments continue to go further.
Well, let me start off by saying congratulations, Graham. Chad, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, Graham fam. You guys were right all season. I doubted Grambling all season. I didn't think they had enough of the parts coming back, but they have proved me wrong all season. Hats off to you. You were right. I was wrong. I have to accept that. That being said,
let me turn the camera on you. You pause for a minute.
I thought.
Make sure y'all. That is Charles, the Charles Bishop.
Yeah. Well, the Grambling jumped out 30-18, and I really thought they took their foot off the gas. And Coach Fobbs alluded to that a little in the post-game presser in terms of some of the things that they were, thought momentum eventually went over there on Alcorn sideline, and they had a difficult time trying to get that momentum back. When you take a look at this game, I think there was one possession that it could have made all the difference in the world, and that was Alcorn got the ball third quarter. They had a 14-play drive that ended inside the 5-yard line. So some question that fourth down call, and that might have a huge difference, I think, in the ball game. That was followed by a missed field goal. And then you saw in the fourth quarter, they had a 22-point outburst and had an opportunity at the end to at least try Hail Mary. So I'll say kudos to Alcorn's football team because, people were getting up, walking around, going to the concession stand 30-10. Right. Exactly.
They were going to concession stand. They wanted to come back and see Bay.
They just want to come back and see Bay. Exactly. So, and Alcorn, they out
Frankie Beverly and Bay.
Frankie Beverly and Bay. Exactly. Oh man, don't go. Oh, that was my concert. I enjoyed that.
How did you enjoy the suite?
The suite was nice. Thank you, Doc. Thank you.
I'll do what I can do.
I
told you.
You made a pitch for commissioner here tonight and the suite, man.
Go ahead.
But I think that was just it was tremendous for it to come down toward the end. And again, Alcorn, they fought. 22 points in the fourth quarter. That's something Gramblin's going to have to keep an eye on next week against North Carolina A&T. But, this Grambling football team, every time they're pushed, they just find a way. We talked about it last week. That's the heart of a champion. Rudy Teague made the famous, quote in terms of beating a champion. It is very difficult to overcome this Grambling team. This is going to be a great matchup in the Celebration Bowl. You have an undefeated North Carolina A&T team.
Wow, that's great.
This Grambling team that's only one loss to FBS Tulane, back in September sometime. So, and you're talking about two of the hottest quarterbacks in HBCU football, and Lamar Raynard and
big-time running backs.
Big-time running backs, Marquise Cartwright.
Big-time wide receiver playmakers.
Yes, indeed, on both sides.
Defenses that were into a lot.
Grambling leads the nation in sacks, and you're talking about one of the most dominant offensive lines in terms of North Carolina A&T, and Brandon Parker, who leads that offensive lineman of the year in the MEAC. This is going to be a fun matchup in the Celebration Bowl. And if you don't have your tickets, you need to get over there to catch this one.
Oh, we there. I'll be down there Thursday. I'll make a special trip, fly in for the media day Thursday, and then fly right back because I need to be back on campus for a presidential event with President Dr. Austin Lane, as he allows me to do the research and work that I'm doing, particularly now as the faculty chair of the Faculty Senate Assembly. A lot of work going on there, boy, I tell you. But those are the things that we're trying to do. And we'll get into a little more. Who you got for that game? No, don't say it. That's a little tease. We'll bring you back. Come back next week. Got Joe Clay in the house. Demo Williams in here. Stan Hard. It says GSU will three-peat in terms of getting it done. Boy, I tell you, PV will win or lose will always be the best school. There you go. That's Tabby McCall. He said, don't worry about it. We the best. He said, Chad said, I told Bishop. And he capitalized it on you. Brandon Harris is in the house.
He couldn't wait to see me at the game, too.
And Charles Bishop, for all my Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity incorporated brothers out there, happy belated Founders Day.
Yes, indeed.
I want to make sure we get that out there in terms of that, including my line brother Brandon Harris is supporting me. Appreciate you on that. So just wanted to give some love there. But let's get into the report. Did you see the report that was put out by HBCU Game Day that went into some detailed information? They literally claim here, and this was done by Tyler Carr. He is a analyst for HBCU Game Day, which is done by Stephen Gaither. That is putting out a lot of information. One thing I must say, that the young man has several sources. So I won't say any more than that, but he has some sources. Dewar Sharp's resignation as a SWAC commissioner last week, just 2 days before the conference championship game, seemed to have come out of nowhere. But as HBCU Game Day first reported last week, I don't know if they first reported, but we'll give you credit. You did right. It appears more complicated than that. HBCU Game Day has obtained exclusive access to a memo sent from the NCAA to each president in the SWAC that outlines the misuse of money by the conference's office. The funds in question are from the Student Athlete Opportunity Fund, SAOF, I should say again, that's SAOF acronym, and were mismanaged over the course of the several years. Now, this is, quote, this is what they're saying. This is not Dr. Ville. You have to pay me a little more in terms of my breaking news. Funds from the SAOF are distributed directly to the conference office from the NCAA and then distributed to the eligible student athletes at each conference institution. According to our sources, quote, the letter sent to the presidents on November 8th played a factor in Sharp's resignation. The letter was sent from Kathleen T. McNeely, the Senior Vice President of Administration and Chief Financial Officer for the NCAA. It states in part, quote, this is from the letter that was sent to the president supposedly. Recently, it has come to our attention that the Southwestern Athletic Conference use of a significant portion of student assistance funds over a multiple year period was inconsistent with the restriction on those funds. The NCAA National Office distributed those funds to the conference in accordance with the NCAA Division I Revenue Distribution Plan for the use and support of your student athletes. Because the funds were not used as intended, we recognize that the SWAC student athletes ultimately have been unfairly disadvantaged. Oh boy, they're using disadvantage terms. That's not good. I'll read this last part and then we can get in some discussions, get your thoughts in terms of this. The memo makes a very strong statement to the conference in third paragraph, encourage the SWAC to strengthen its business model.
Wow.
I think I said something about that. Quote, to assist in ensuring the future success of the conference, the Board of Governors expects that your leadership develop a business plan detailing your strategy to restore the financial stability of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. This business plan should represent a collaboration of all institution presidents and be submitted to my attention no later than January 5th, 2018. That's the date. No, January 5th, 2018. I'm thinking about December. I got a little nervous there. Wow.
You have a month.
You have a month.
Mm-hmm.
It will be reviewed at the January 2018 Board of Governors meeting. So they're going to review, not only that the Senate, but they're going to review by the Board of Governors. They believe in it. So this is why you're hearing a lot of the noise that's coming out of here and why things are as strong as they are and why I emphatically said that this is serious in regards to what's going on. But you can go to HBCU Game Day and read a little more through that. You may want to read different parts of this that stand out to you. But what are your thoughts in regards to that commentary that I just read there?
When I read that, the thing that jumped out at me was the quote, to assist with ensuring the future success of your conference. You need to provide a business plan, and you need to provide it within the month by January 5th. And when you talked about the seriousness of the matter, that was something that jumped out at me. And the seriousness of it, the potential.
Yeah, you disappear.
Disappear.
You go. They can be like, no longer can you operate, particularly at the Division I level.
Right, and for somebody that has a complete passion for HBCU athletics, this conference, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, that was just a scary thought to think in terms of.
But again, I'll say this for the presidents, or at least presidents that I have interacted with, they understand the gravity of the situation. They met on Thursday and they did their due diligence. It was a full day. They met as a body to discuss these issues. They've been talking about it prior to that, but they certainly put in the time that day in terms of what's going on. Before we get into some more of your thoughts in terms of what's next and what you would like to see, as I've kind of spent a lot of time talking about my framing, I'd like to get in and let you do your thing. We got Marco LaFleur that says 06. Yes, 06. He said, when I gave you the camera, Chad Jones said you was trying to hide. When you making your statement, he said he needs you to stand up.
Boy,
Jimmy said, yes, I did, Doc. I know you heard me. Whitemore, if time allows, what do you think about Mississippi Valley's need of a new head coach since they decided to get rid of Coach Comanche? Yeah, I jumped out here a little earlier in regards to suggesting a coach that they should strongly look at. And so I'll answer that in regard to my thought in terms of coach that I believe that they should strongly look at that may fit in terms of the things they're talking about. He's a former coach of Virginia Union, getting it done there. I just had to go here. Last name James.
Yeah, Mark James.
Mark James is a coach that I think that you should look at for that Mississippi Valley job. They might want to go outside the circuit and look at something out, what's going on there. So that would be my thought in terms of the direction for Mississippi Valley State as they look to continue to move forward. The Valley has some challenging decisions they have to make. Their enrollment numbers, a lot of people think it's about hiring a very good coach, which is one component of it. Hiring an athletic director, I think they have an athletic director that is sharp. And my concern with Valley is the fact that when you get somebody that's sharp, oftentimes it's hard to keep them around.
Yeah.
People are looking. And because of the size and enrollment, it doesn't allow them oftentimes to financially be in position to actually play at a high level. Mm-hmm. And as sports continues to grow and it becomes even more of a money factor, that challenge for Valley continues to get tougher and tougher. So those are things that you have to consider in regards to what's going on there. Go ahead, give me some more of your thoughts there.
Well,
some guards watching, I'm sorry.
I'm the constant optimist. And honestly, I'm a little excited in terms of the potential for the conference.
That's right.
It's finally that opportunity, for as all of us fans, for the SWAC to kind of get it right. And you laid out a platform of where it needs to go in terms of strategic vision, in terms of the right person who has relationships with the right people and wants to see you succeed. I think those things are tremendously important. So for me, there's trepidation in terms of reading the letter, but there's a little bit of excitement. There's a lot of excitement in terms of moving forward, in terms
I think
of what
there's
the
a lot
conference has the ability to do.
From what I've seen lately, and it's been a short period of time, so we have to take that. But I think some of the presidents that we have in the conference now, they happen to be younger, but they happen to be dialed in. And they are focused on making their institution better. What I can tell, they're focused on getting rid of some of the individuals at those campuses that have done things that hasn't made it better. They're committing to bringing people in. So what I've seen, that if there is a chance for us to get it right, I think the time is right, as you said. I'm very optimistic about what I'm seeing, but you're right. It has to be done. And this is not for me. I want to make this very clear. This is not to bash George Sharp. I think there are certainly some things that he's done really well, but I'm just reading in terms of what information was given to me, what information was put out there by HBCUGameDay.com in regards to that. And so it's serious, and we need to recognize it's serious. John Robinson, probably was negligent in distributing the funds correct. Not shocked at all. This is why I never thought our president should be in charge of the commissioner. The AD should be. Oh man, that's a pretty radical model. That's what you see at the Power 5. The president's coming to make the final decisions, but at the Power 5 level, those ADs are extremely powerful, and the commissioners themselves are very, very powerful. They are the ones that have the strategic division. That's why I put that out there.
Sure.
I've done a lot of research in terms of those Power 5 institutions and what they've been able to do and how they have become successful. They use a business model, and they try to hide some of that sometimes because they don't want to pay the athletes. But that's a whole different discussion, the college athletes there. And again, I'm strictly talking about at the Power 5 level. But at that level, they put the packages together, they go get the revenue, and then they go get it ratified by the presidents. And the presidents are looking at a very high level, and they're looking at just basically finances.
Yeah.
They will have concerns in terms of what this looks at publicly, so they do shape that into the decisions. But they're looking bottom line financial numbers and how does this make their institution stronger. And that's why you see them operating the way they do, and we have to move in that direction. Obviously, you're not going to do it at the highest level financially, but there's some things that are unique to HBCU sports and history that's tied to a culture and a institution in regards to multiple institutions. As I talk about the HBCU sporting diaspora, or the sporting HBCU diaspora, HBCU cultural identity. Those are things that are marketable. Those are the things that transition directly from revenues potential that needs to be taken care of in terms of what you do there. So you need to understand what's going on there. So the AD should be ones monitoring the conference office and making the reports to the president and chancellor. Should be the council of ADs. I think you're making some great points there in terms of what you said, John Robinson. Mississippi Valley State needs to hire a JUCO coach. That's interesting. I think you can make an argument for that, Chad. I won't bust you up there. You've been hot today, so I'm thinking that you own some things. Yolanda Mitchell is on here, bringing in here. Michelle, I should say. Dwight Moore. Jimmy is still on here getting it done. John Robinson is all on it. He's in it now. He's got something to say. I agree with you, Doc, on that about the Power 5 schools. Thank you, John. I try to do my homework, so I don't want to make sure I'm feeding you misinformation. I spend a lot of time reading the information in terms from just not a fan perspective. Not saying there's something wrong with it, but I spend a great deal of time researching and putting out power. That's how I was able to get tenure. I would put it out there. Associate professor, and I'm not time to go up for full professor. And these folks need to know people are going to be looking at me like I'm on the hot market. Whoever ends up as the commissioner will be part of the challenge of a conference headed in the right direction, but the bottom line is that we as graduates and alum of our institution are going to have to put money back into our institution, stop looking outside help to help in internal struggles. Very true, Michael Prince. No arguing for me there. You
Right.
certainly have to be the first, because one of the first things when you go out to organizations, I said, they want to know what are you doing as an institution, who are supporting you. So we need to make sure we're involved, joining your alumni association, and I'm saying being a paid member, join your alumni association, put that out there with your numbers. Certainly you have to put in the work, but you need to be financial with your institutions. And then if you have departments that were your favorite departments because you trust what they're doing, designate that money where you want it to go. That's fine, but certainly need to put in that work. And so those are some things you might need to look at. You might need to look at TV sports director. I'm just saying, great point, JR, in terms of what he's saying there. Yep, certainly. And so there's a lot of people putting in some good messages here. Valley should hire a young coach who they will get 4 or 5 years in rebuilding the program, let him win and get out of there. Yeah, you certainly could talk about that. Thaddeus Henderson is in here putting in work. I see that.
Yeah, I'll say this about Mississippi Valley. They have, from going back into the day, a lot of people don't know, but they have a tremendous fan base that really loves Mississippi Valley. That whole Delta region. Back, I remember as a child when Totten and Rice and their show was on the road, they would pack a stadium out. And I really would love to see Mississippi Valley get back to, that sort of...
They're going to have to do some radical things. They can't operate like everybody else.
Yeah.
And so Valley has to become comfortable with themselves that they're going to be uncomfortable. When they do that, I think you're right. They have the chance to do it. But as long as they stay just comfortable,
Yeah.
they're going to have some major challenges. I'm just saying the way the business model works for us at the FCS is driven by enrollment numbers.
Yeah.
They don't have the enrollment numbers, so they really have to do some radical things. So just to say that we're going to get back to it, and I understand what you're saying there,
Yeah.
but I'm saying the point is there's ways to do that. John Robinson's JR from the SWAC page, ESPN, so I see that. Curly Cup out there, A&T Hall of Famer right here, Alpha Man. Thank you, Colt, for getting in here and checking us out.
Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, brother. Yeah, he made right here over the grad chapter right here. Alpha 8 Atlanta, brother. I'm telling you, that's the Hall of Fame. Yeah. He checking us out. That's the man. That's the man. Hey, Curly, if you get a chance, I'll get in contact with you. Love you to have you on to the show and talk about some of the history,
Yes, sir.
your experiences coming up through the SWAC and do that. It's not all the time you get a Hall of Famer to decide to join the show and check it out. Valley is starving for a winner. Yes, they are. Carlos Brown had a question earlier that we did answer. Carlos, what did Carlos say? I said we was going to
Top
come.
3 teams?
Yes, top 3 teams. Thank you.
Yeah.
In terms of top 3 teams, we do have our following rankings as we kind of come up to the close of the show. I do want to do it, and I'll do one better for you. With our mid-major level, we can give you the final top 10 teams this year at the mid-major level in week number 4, which is number 10. Fort Valley State Wildcats 5-5, 5-1 as they close up the 10 season at 10, setting the schedule even at 500. They should be moving forward. I would say they are on the radar ticking up. Winston-Salem State 6-4, 4-3. This is a program that's leveled down. I would say they're on the level down,
Yeah.
but this is a program that can quickly go in upward direction. There is a lot of history recent that shows that they should be doing much better than. So you're going to talk about a team that's coming back hungry. But right now I think they're on the downslide. At number 8, Fayetteville State Broncos. I would say because they're parallel, they just keep moving along. They made a big run, a big victory. So I'm going to say that they're trending up in the upward direction. Virginia Union Panthers 6-4, 5-2. Again, dismissal of the coach. You have a AD that is tough there. He wants to win. I think it's going to take a year when you bring in a new coach. He has to get it right. But I'm not sure in 1 year. There is talent out there, so you can do that. So I'm going to say Virginia Union, because of the decision they made, trending down. And number 6, and this is going to be based on now. When I hear of coaching, I may change that based after I review the coach and see if I believe theoretically they got it right. Bringing us to number 6, Miles Golden Bears 6-4, 4-2. This is a program that is stuck right in the middle, trying to take that next step. The last couple of years, they've fallen down as they had the high water mark when they were beating Tuskegee, won the championship. So even though they're in the middle of full top 10 in terms of the expectation, and I'm even saying from the coach, they're going down.
They got that
Top 5 program. Yeah, they do. Number 5 program, Benedict Tigers 7-2, 5-1, without a doubt. Surprise of the season, trending upwards in the up direction. That was a coach that was formerly white, that was at Fort Valley State. He went over, so you can see he knows how to coach and get it done. Boy, he changed it in 1 year. Wait till he gets some players and change. That should be interesting to watch. Bringing us number 4, Tuskegee Golden Tigers, 9-2, 6-0 in the conference. Rebounded last year, although they were left out of the playoffs. I don't believe they should have been left out of the playoffs, but way things happen, I still say trending in the upward direction. At number 3, Bowie State Bulldogs, 9-2, 6-1. Without a doubt, they're trending upwards in the upwards direction. They do have to replace quarterback. If they're not careful, they might have to replace some coaches too.
Yeah.
Talked about some coaches up there. You have Henry Fraser III, the assistant coach. Certainly a good coach. Anybody get him, you talking about somebody that'll be hungry.
Oh,
and
man.
you need to look at defensive coordinator
Proven winner.
from Bowie State. They continue to get it done. So those are some things that you may think about. Antoine Sewell, I should say. Thank you. He'd kill me if I got the name wrong. Antoine Sewell should be in the mix in terms of somebody, defensive coordinator, that has paid the dividends, been throughout the SWAC, many different conferences, have a lot of experience, and always have been around a solid defense. At number 1, Langston Lions, 10-1, 8-0. This is a team that's in the NIA, so they don't necessarily get the love they done, but they tied for a Cole championship this year, and they tied with Virginia State Trojans, 10-1, 7-0. Both of these programs obviously are turning in an upward direction, playing some very good football. Those are some coaches that you want to keep your eyes on. Barlow obviously is coached at the FCS level, so he has some experience there. Oftentimes, second time coach gets a chance at it, they do better. He did that at Virginia State. Maybe he can bring that back around full circle, come to the FCS. Not that I'm trying to chase him around Virginia State because they love him there. He's getting there well. Langston Lions, solid young coach. That's another coach, maybe Pine Bluff. Arkansas Pine Bluff will look in if you going, as some people said over there, that you want somebody young.
You mentioned hungry.
Hungry.
Yeah.
Those are the type of coaches you got there. Obviously, Langston Lion coach is alum of Langston, so you're going to have to make sure the money right to chase him out of there, similar as we talked about some of these other coaches. So that'll do it for the top 10 of the mid-major division. Before we go to the major division, another tease. We talking about if it's time, what do we think? I talked about a little bit about that. So any last comments out here? Valley should hire a young coach. Gave some love there. Yeah. Brandon Lee, Jimmy Wilson. Davis is on the air. And so let me get into the major division. Any concern with Langston and Virginia State at number 1 before we do this?
No, not at all. Actually, Langston and Virginia State had tremendous seasons. I agree with you wholeheartedly in terms of both of them trending upward. Tuskegee, like you said, I thought they should have made the playoffs. 2 huge wins over Jackson State and
David said, what about Livingston? They didn't quite make the top 10 list there. They're on the outside looking in, trying to get it done. They got to get some more wins. They can get in that top 10. Not on the list this year. In fact, they weren't even receiving votes yet. Albany State Wildcats 6-4, 4-2 in regards to that. Let's get in that top 10 so you give your thoughts as we head into that final week and give our ranking, as we'll freeze next weekend, and then we'll come back for the celebration where we'll announce it. Just hanging outside is Alabama State Hornets, 5-6, 4-3. Boy, you talking about closing out the season. With 5 wins out of 6 games. Not bad at all. Is it enough for Hills to get the job? We shall see. And number 10, Tennessee State Tigers, 6-5, 2-5. Talked about the fact they got those 2 big HBCU wins, but it didn't translate in the conference. 2-5, many transfers. But we'll see, as it looks like the coach is safe this year. Certainly defensive. He wanted to go and focus on defense. They were good on defense. Now you got to go back and fix it on the offensive side there. Hampton Pirates, 6-5, 5-3. Coach with a winning record, Maynard, solid coach. Saw what he did at Winston-Salem State. That's another coach you probably need to keep your eye on. We know he'll get it done. So some eyes there. At number 8, Prairie View A&M, the Panthers winning 3 straight games, finished at 6-5, 4-3. Third year for Willie Simmons with a winning record, find a way to get it done. Number 7, North Carolina Central, the Eagles, 7-4, 5-3. And number 6, Southern Jaguars, 7-4, 5-2. They fall out the top 5 with the loss there. Alcorn State 7-5, even though they lost to Grambling. That tremendous comeback keeps them in the top 5, 5-2 overall. And number 4, we have the Howard Bison 7-4, 6-2. Had their tough loss to Hampton, or they may would have snuck into the top 3 in terms of program. Just above them is Bethune-Cookman Wildcat, winning 4 of the last 5, including the last game, in terms of 7-4, 6-2. So they jump in at 3 spot. At number 2, Grambling State Tigers with 5 first-place votes, 11-1, 7-0. At number 1, undefeated North Carolina A&T Aggies with 7 first-place votes, 11-0, 8-0. And we will find out. These 2 teams will play each other, so one of them will get a chance to make the statement of why they should be number one. I see your face frowning up there, so I'm going to give you a chance to talk about why you're frowning up before we close the show. Go ahead.
Howard.
The floor is yours.
Howard in front of Southern, huh? Ooh.
Yeah, Howard's in front of Southern.
Well, I mean, Southern to me was trended in the right direction until the Bayou Classic loss.
They got the head. They got the head beat in.
They took the SWAC champion to the MEAC.
They didn't have a big win. Where's the big win?
They're well, nah. You got it.
Well, Howard had a big win.
Howard does have UNLV with victory, so okay, all right. And who's in front of Howard?
Bethune-Cookman. Last second.
Where's the big win?
North Carolina Central. Got you. I knew. Yeah. You forget.
Central.
Yeah.
Okay.
Central was playing for a championship until that last weekend.
Until that Hail Mary. So.
Okay.
All right.
Well, here we go. Let's close out the show again. Thank you for all those that watched us. Michael Lee, Wendell Davis, Ivory, a couple of people that signed on. Ernest Smithers, the third. Appreciate you. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, sports professor with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As we come to a close, we hope you enjoyed our conversations that we went into. Just provided information, gave you a chance on FaceTime to really get in and give some information. Thanks for your participation out there on Facebook Live. We want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop every Tuesday from 6 to 7 right here on KCWH TV 92.9 FM HD2. The Vein, we're pumping your system. In the historic KCWH studio in Houston, Texas, www.kcwh-tv.com. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil, DrKenyattaCavil. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Course lecture dismissed.
Get out.